coming. There's a good reason to be here. It's a celebration. And I know we're gonna miss my grandma and my mom, but it's all good. It's actually really good. So I like to have an opening prayer before I get started in favor of the ask to do that.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are grateful for this beautiful day. Grateful that we could gather as friends and family to celebrate the life of my grandma, Gladys Saulters. We're grateful for the love that she had for each and every one of us. We're grateful for the love of our Savior Jesus Christ and for the gift of the atonement. We pray that we will fill this room with love and joy, and the strength of her memories will carry us through. These things we pray for in the name of His Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I'm gonna see if this helps. Well, Mom had several instructions for this. And then we redid those instructions. Sometimes we redid them again. Her last revision, I lost. So, here we are. Mom carried this card with her. It was in her wallet at all times with that saying on the back. So that's why I used that. The inside is like, wow, isn't it? Reagan? Isn't she beautiful?
She said that when she said on Facebook. She was like, wow, I've never seen a picture of Grandma before when she was that young. Yeah.
So anyway, we're just gonna do what we did for my dad. We're just gonna talk for a little bit. If you say something tonight, that's great. You get another chance tomorrow at graveside. In your boots and your coat and shiver. So I've got a couple things I always ask my mom and dad to do, and I wished I had that leather-bound journal, because I could open their leather-bound journal, and there's nothing in it. I cannot understand why somebody that goes to a church that relies on the written word, why they had such a hard time writing something down. This is Mom's 2019, 2020. I'm going to read what she put in here. September the 19th, September the 16th of 2019. She writes in third party, Gladys moved to Durango, Sunshine Gardens. Good place and comfortable for me. She goes down to the 19th of September, 2019. Bill goes to the nursing home in Cortez. All seems okay. Then we go to the 29th of September. Mom was born on September 29th of 1923. That's a century almost of 96 years and a half. It's a century. 1923. I think 51 is a long time ago. 23 is, she's 25, Dad's 23, she's 1925. And on her birthday she writes, what a perfect birthday. Don, Bob, Peggy, Keisha, Aaliyah, Kylie, Abby are all here. Lots of love and goodness. A day I will always remember. And I could keep going on, but there's nothing in here. I've got a saying that I'm gonna use and pass it on to you guys, and maybe you might use it. I like to say I'm good at compartmentalizing, so that I can come off as non-emotional. So, you see me up here, I've compartmentalized everything I can to put off all those feelings that should be on the outside. I got a little verse out of Proverbs 31:28. And I can't read my own writing, my glasses are not working. Her children rise up, and all are blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done exceedingly, but Mom, you've surpassed them all. So I hope everybody's mom is that way, that we believe that they're the best there are. My mom really was. I've got some things up here, little gift bags for family. In the gift bags, there's a hanger. Mom, that hanger represents Mom's, to me, tidiness, neatness, and always putting something up. There was never anything laying around the house. In the bottom of the bag, you'll find a doily. They're all different, she made them all. And that's just somebody that is always busy. You know, no idle time. Then I just displayed her Afghans that she's done. We've all had several, wore out many, and she just kept knitting them. So, at the very bottom of the bag, here's a bar of soap, Dove soap. That was her favorite soap. It doesn't leave a ring around the tub. So if you need something to erase some of our rings that we build up, you know, we have rings in our lives and done things, get out that Dove bar soap, erase that ring. And then I got a candle in there, so you can think of that as thinking of your grandma or your mom as a way to light up your life. I came down just 24 hours before Mom passed. Got here on Saturday or Sunday, I guess it's Sunday at 2 o'clock. And just before 2 o'clock on the next day, she passed. And I got to stay there. Slept in her bed. She liked her chair. So Mom had this position she could get in to where she could breathe. Of course, she had trouble breathing with this. So she got in this perfect position to breathe, and you didn't disturb her. I could wake her, and she could talk back to me a little bit. She had no voice, but she still could talk, and you could really listen. And we're sitting there, and I listened to her breathe all night long. Because that's going to be your first clue. So the next day, the help there, it was Mom's bath day. So hospice comes in, and they have somebody that's been bathing Mom. And Mom actually really enjoyed the showers. Somebody else touching her, feeling her, and helping her take a shower. She really liked that. She really liked this gal. So to do this, she can't go in the shower, so it's going to be a wet bath in bed, but she's in her chair. So we move her from the chair to her bed. And she has a bed that can raise up. So I'm listening to Mom breathe, and I'm watching the help move her. And this little gal, about 5 foot tall, is the one that always bathed Mom. So she starts out and She takes mom's clothes off, puts a towel over mom. And I don't know how uncomfortable mom was at that time, because she was not really responding. So I watched the gal bathe her, roll her to one side, roll her back, and finish bathing her. And this gal really got to know mom, and everybody that knows her over there likes her. It might have taken her a couple years to fit in, but she finally did. So the gal reaches down to bed, grabs mom's toe, and says, "Gladys, this is Lily. I'll see you later next week." And she turns and walks out the door, and it's just right there. And I turn my head, and when we turn back, Keisha and Donnie Stewart came in the room, standing at the end of the bed. And within them 3 seconds of turning her head and turning it back, mom was gone. I know that when people pass, they talk about feeling something special. All I got was total comfort and closure. So we called the funeral home. Didn't know what was really gonna happen. Mom is COVID. So when the guy comes over, I wait on the funeral guy to come over and pick mom up. So he comes in and he's asking if she was COVID or not. And the technicality of it, I thought the days go by where there's enough days that she's not COVID. But ultimately, the care center said that she was COVID. And the coroner's report will say COVID too. So if you have COVID, they have to put you in a bag. Just like you see the bag all the time on TV and everybody's being zipped in the bag. So I helped this guy put mom in the bag. And we zipped it up and closed it. And we moved her to her car so he could take her out. So yet, at that point in time, I wasn't sure what the COVID regulations are, but once she's in the bag, she doesn't ever come out. So that's why we have a closed casket. And I want you to know at 96 years old, the body that was left was wore out and used. There's a way to get your money's worth out of something. I want you to know mom got her money's worth out of that body. And I know the bar of soap here is, I'm going to hopefully lighten little things up. The bar of soap, I am a clean freak kind of thing too. And I might get ready to come down here, maybe I'm got to get an RV ready, boat ready, or whatever it is, and get it all done, pickup's backed up, hooked onto it, I'll run in, take a shower. Then I go out and I'm ready to go. When mom had her bath. That made her ready to go. All right, see how you guys do, come on up.
Ertel. I went to the same Lord church as Gladys. And I've lived here 46 years and I knew her all that time. And she was such a sweet, sweet woman. I really liked her and I used to stop over ever so often and see she and Bill and just visit with them and talk about whatever, you know. And there were other times when maybe I was studying for a lesson at church and couldn't find the right scripture I needed. I could just call Gladys and ask her, and she would be able to tell me. And it was such a comfort to see her. And last year or so, myself and Sister Harris, we'd driven over to Durango to see her, and we were there just last month. And remarked on the way home how amazing it was that she was so sharp and so on things, even at the age of 96, you know, and you think, well, gee, if I could be that sharp, it wouldn't be so bad to get old. But she never complained about getting old. She never complained about any health issues or anything. She would just always talk to us like everything was so hunky-dory and things were good, and tell us about the kids coming over to see her and how much she loved that and everything. And we had such nice visits when we'd go over and visit her. And we missed her in the ward a lot and hated to see her go so far away, but at least we did get to see her now and then. I consider her a friend, and it was my privilege to be so. Thank you, Jesus Christ.
Alright, I'm gonna say a few things, but I'm gonna sit in my chair, so I don't have to look at all your sweet faces. And, when I've been reflecting about Grandma the last couple of days, it's funny that Dad brought up the soap, because occasionally I'll buy a bar of soap, and yet the first thing you notice is the ring around the bathtub, and I didn't know that's why she used Dove soap. So, very nice. But the time that I lived with her, to think that I lived there for a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and never once took a shower, was kind of mind-boggling. The things I think of when I think of Grandma was she was very clean, always busy. From cooking breakfast in the morning, always made lunch, and she made the best food. Even if it was simple Texas garlic toast, it was amazing because Grandma made it. That, and I could still think of her new potatoes. Always working in her flower beds. She took such pride in her flower beds and her garden. And Grandma just had this ability to make you feel love. And if she asked how you were doing, she didn't want just fine. Like, she genuinely wanted to know how you were doing. Her canning, still working, always working. And I still can't can a jar of green beans like she did. come to mind are homemade ice cream, because I had the privilege of driving through Cortez every year for my birthday on the way to Ertel. And there was nothing better than Grandma's homemade ice cream. Hanging out outside. And no greater feeling than driving 6 hours and pulling up in front of the yellow house. Where the two of them were bound to either working in their yard or sitting on the front porch. From the candy dishes to open the refrigerator and see if there's anything in there that you need or you want. If it was her last Pepsi, she would have given it to you. You come to my house and it's the last Pepsi, But Grandma, she gave.
If I could, I'd like to say a few words about my dear friend. I too, like Laverne, we love to make our trips over to Durango, not as often as Keisha and Donnie. I think they were over there every day. I marveled of how much they loved and cared for their mother and grandmother. But I had a lot of phone conversations with her. We used to belong to the same family home evening group. And that's when I got to know Gladys and Bill the most. And now they're all gone, except me. And so I guess that tells you a little bit about my age. But we love to talk about them on our phone conversations. Of course, one of the main things we talked about was politics. And we were of the same mind. And she'd say, did you see what this was? And I'd say, yeah. And we'd have a big discussion and figured out that things were not as they should be. But we had, it was fun. It was fun to talk about that. She loved that tablet. I don't know which one of you were responsible for giving her that, but she loved that tablet where she could, and she learned to manage it really well. And she could zoom in and see children and grandchildren and talks and conference and she really did enjoy that. And she promised she'd teach me how to work one of these days. But she loved her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And Keisha made this big poster that she had on the wall of all of, it's up there now? Of all the great-grandchildren. Oh, yeah. And she loved that. And then when we go to her room, of course, there was always a decoration that had to do with the season. And she said,
Oh, that Donnie, oh, she decorates and makes it just so. And she loved that, and we had such fun visiting. And she said, I'll tell you one thing I want you to do for me. When I die, when I go on, I said, what is that, Gladys? She said, I want you to dress me in my temple clothes. But of course, that was impossible now.
Yeah.
But she loved the gospel. And above all, she loved her family. And I loved her. And now I'm sure the family wants to take the time that I'm leaving.
Thank you.
Thank you. And as always, it's very hard for me to say anything. I just can't do it. Imagine I can't talk. But it's very hard, and I couldn't talk on my dad's either. Love them both dearly, and we'll miss both of them. But look at the reunion my mother had. Her husband, her siblings, her mom, her dad. I think my little angel Addie. Knew Grandma went to see Grandpa, huh? Before we ever said anything.
I will say on Monday, my mom called me and said, I'm going to see Grandma, do you want to come? I said, well, Aaron's working, there's no way I can go, and I called him and he said, no, I'll be right there to pick Addie up from school so that I could go. My mom turned around and came and got me, and he picked her up from preschool, and he knew it was important that I be there that day. He said he had a gut feeling that I needed to be there, especially that day. So he picked her up from school, and as I was sitting with her on the bed, I let him know what had happened. And he texted back and said, I think Addie knew. And I said, what do you mean? And he said that she was talking about Papa. And she told him, Papa got Grandma. And we hadn't told her anything that had happened that day. That she knew. No, it's really special to me to know that she still felt that and she knew that. Even before knowing what had happened that day. It was kind of had in the back of my mind since I was lucky enough to talk to my grandpa when he passed away, that I was the one who was on the phone with. I've always kind of had that worry that I wouldn't get to have that with Grandma. But instead I was there with her. Which was really hard. But it made me feel a sense of peace. Knowing that she didn't suffer. I was here every Saturday. Every Friday or every Saturday, every week. And Addie, the day before we'd go, she would pack her bag of toys. Or that morning, she would pack a backpack plumb full of toys. So that she could show Grandma all of her toys. She'd take them over to her and show them to her one by one. Grandma would look at them and, what is this? And Addie would explain it to her, and that was always something that was really special. And I asked Addie today what her favorite memory of Grandma was, and that's what she told me. And Kylie wanted me to say that her favorite memory was just the fact that we got to go to Durango every week and see her. It was hard her being so far away. You know, we always wish she was closer so that we could see her more often. But I did always call her every day. We'd talk on the phone, sometimes an hour and a half, sometimes 30 minutes. But we always talked on the phone, and she would ask how all of us were. And like Rihanna said, she didn't want to just, I'm fine, I'm okay. She wanted to know everything that was going on. And on days that we couldn't come to see her because they had their visitor restrictions and things in place where we couldn't come, we'd make sure that we video called her on her tablet, let her talk to all of us. Because if we couldn't come and see her, we wanted her to be able to see us, and we wanted to see her some way. So I remember I was talking to her on the phone, and even after the day that she found out that she had COVID, I called her to talk to her, and she says, well, you know, that's how everything is these days. It's all COVID. She says, it's not COVID, it's a cold. And then our phone conversations got shorter and shorter, so I knew that she wasn't doing well. No matter how she was, she always made time to talk on the phone. And every couple days a week, I go to Durango early in the morning, middle of the night, to pick up bread to deliver, and she would always call me as soon as she woke up on those days, calling to make sure that I made it back safe. And that Monday was the first time she didn't call me in the morning. My heart sank, but I knew that Bob was there with her. So that was the other reason I knew I needed to go that day, and I'm glad I did.
Yep.
I remember always being at their house early in the mornings and before school, after school, and I'm always busy in the kitchen, and she taught me everything I know about cooking and baking, even though I never baked, and she always asked me why I never baked. I told her it's because I could never make it taste like hers. I just cherish all the good times that we all had with her. Addie's too young to understand, but Ellie and Kylie do, and they know that Grandma loved them. And I know it's hard for her. And we know that she loved them and that we love her, and that we'll miss her.
I will say that's a great picture of your mom and dad.
You were here when we had them.
Yeah, they just look so
so good in it.
Yep.
All I can say is I learned a lot from Gladys. From how to help babies that have colics and raising kids and stuff. She'd tell me this and that and give me tidbits. I learned a lot about cooking, baking. I even still have in my recipe box, Mom's ice cream, Mom's oatmeal raisin cookies, stuff that she would make. Because everybody always commented when she used to work at the school that she made the best biscuits and rolls and stuff at school. And, you know, she learned so much of that there and was always so willing to share with everybody else and help them learn a lot of things too. And they just knew so much about so many different things. And I remember like stopping at the house when I'd come down to visit and stuff, and she'd be like, or Bill would say, well, I was reading in my scriptures this verse or whatever, and well, what do you think about it? What do you think this means? What do you know, and he was always wanting to like pull something out of you to get some information, like what do you think? So he could set you straight and tell you how it was or figure it out together and stuff. So I always remember good discussions with them when I would come down to visit. And I talked to her just like the week before she passed, and I remember Donnie calling me afterwards, and she's like, well, how did she sound to you? How did she sound to you? Because she was so upset, and I go, she just sounded like Grandma. She just was sharp. She was, you know, carried on a conversation, talked about all kinds of things and stuff, and I could tell she was tired, so we didn't talk all that long, but it was, you know, good to talk to her. And she started coughing, and I said something about getting over that or whatever, and she said, well, I'll get over it one way or the other, and I'm okay with whichever way it comes. So she was at peace, and where she's at now. And but, when Lisa sent me a text that she'd passed, the first thing I thought of was what a great reunion she was having in heaven with Bill, all her siblings, all her family there, and how happy everybody was there and how sad we all are. But she knew the gospel and she knew it was true, and she knew where she was ready to go. So I want to thank her for all the things that she taught me over the years.
I'm gonna touch on that again, because Grandma did have a beautiful testimony. And when Sarah had sent in the text the hymns that she wanted played for her funeral, I got on the gospel library and I listened to them, and then each hymn comes with scriptures. And so I went and I read the scriptures. And both of the songs relate to coming home. And I thought, wouldn't that be just like Grandma? Because, like I said, she loved us. And she was always so giving that the songs that she chose to play weren't only for her, but were also for us to know that she is at home. And I love that.
doesn't like being the last one. Thank you for coming.
Stay out, so
Did you walk?
it's too late. Your dad always go back. Like walking.
Yeah, they're like freaks.
Well, I'm gonna leave it this time because I didn't do a bill, but try not to cry. I always make fun of Gladys, just in a funny way. Every time he used to be on the phone, we go to Farm Stand Durango. I always tell Gladys, tell her chief is calling, and she'd always just make fun of me and just talk about it and stuff like that. And every time we go see her, it's funny. The girls always say hi, Grandma, and I always just say hi, Gladys. But the last couple months, she'd always just say, "You call me Grandma too." I know I always tease it a lot, but me being Navajo, I'm not close. My kids, Donnie knows it. I don't say thank you. I don't say I love you. To my kids I do, but I never got that feeling from my parents or my grandparents. Your guys' parents were my grandparents too. Bill showed me how to be a better man. Gladys just helped also. I mean, she'd always tease and ask what we're doing, and I'd always tease with her and just, make fun of, again, just my humor. Ask her what Mormons do and this, and I'd always, whenever you go cook and I ask her, is this more Mormon food? And she'd always laugh. And, and I'd always ask her just silly questions, and she'd always give me a good answer. She'd always, whatever I said, she'd always give me a good answer. And every time we come over there, she'd just always ask how we were. Always ask, everybody, how are you? And we always say the same thing. But, with Gladys and Bill, I truly felt loved by them. My grandparents, I never did. That's just the way I was raised. So, like Bob said that, they truly were wonderful people. I never felt that. You guys are lucky to have her. And I was grateful enough to be around her. I remember when I first met her, she'd always tell me, treat Keisha right. Always. I always told her I tried. And I truly feel like I do. That day, it wasn't right. You just wake up in the morning, you just think, something's not right today. So I knew I had to hurry up, which Addie's done it before, Everybody else is buying Fritos, Cheetos. So Addie came to work with me, which is fine, she came with me. So we were working. And then we go to Walmart, go do Keisha's job, bread, my job too, do all that. We get home. He was talking about Bill. He said, Grandpa's gonna come see Grandma now. I was like, what do you mean? He said, Grandma's gonna go see Papa now. 10 minutes later, Keisha texted me. as being full-blooded now, we don't believe in God. We believe in the Creator. That day, true, it made me believe in God. Just from her words, why would she say that? God is real, and I know that now. But Gladys and Bill, they're awesome. I mean, when I receive Facebook memories, it just cracks me up and makes me sad at the same time. But now I know where Keisha gets her clean free from Gladys. Our house is always spotless. And their stubbornness. You know, I always tell when we go over there, she'd always say, I was like, well, it's, again, me being funny. I was like, it's a white thing. She's like, no, it's a burner thing. It's a Saulters thing. You know, it's just the way they are. So I just had to say a little bit what Abby told me.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to say thank you for everybody that's came. I mean, it's time like this where we get to bring our heart and feelings to the surface. Those are the same times that you need to learn to speak to your Heavenly Father too. Dad brought a miracle into Sarah's life. Sarah was asking Dad how she could help her husband Rex learn more about the church or stuff. And he was going to church but not really in the church and things like this, so Dad told her, read the scriptures to him. Well, or have him read the scriptures. And she said, well, Rex really doesn't read. And Dad said, well, read them to him. So that's his conversion story for somebody. And today we witnessed Aaron's recognition of our Heavenly Father too. That's a big thing.
Grandma was still doing her missionary work even when Spirit was put in Chicago.
That's what I said, we have double the spiritual help now. I like to thank Dick. Dick dedicated the grave yesterday. Me and him drove over there, had a great visit, dedicated that grave and came back. And he did Dad's grave too, so thank you. Kevin, there you go. I'm older than you. Sorry, Kevin.
No problem.
I must have been thinking of your dad too.
Still an honor either way, right?
That's right.
And around the back here is Candy. I don't know if anybody knows Candy. Candy's my cousin. She's my mom's, well, sister's daughter, of course, that's what makes it cousin. It was Ruth. Ruth passed 4 years ago,
In 16.
in 16.
December.
So Mom was the last of 8 Burnhams to pass.
Mm-hmm.
That's Candy's daughter.
Melissa. Melissa and I and my other daughter Brianna came and visited Aunt Gladys in August, the first part of August, I think it was, and had just the most marvelous visit in her little room. And both of my girls were just so taken with her. Not only for her sweet spirit, but how much she reminded them of their grandma, my mom. She really did. I mean, just genes don't lie, boy. I mean, the laugh and the sarcasm and they were truly amazed at how much she resembled their grandma, who had passed a few years before. And we were always going to come back and see her. And Brianna especially wanted to bring her 4 children to meet her. And she said, well, maybe in November we'll come, Aunt Gladys. And she said, okay. So I talked to her on the phone one day and she said, you tell Brianna it's almost November. And I said, okay. Well, I mean, kids are in school and life and whatever. And we're all at peace with that. But man, oh man, are we ever grateful that we got to spend some really great time with her. It was very special to our heart, and it meant a lot to myself and my 2 girls. So
I always have to call on Bob, because I always can't do anything. So Bob, better get down here. He said, well, I'm gonna listen to you and not miss out like I did with Dad. So now I said, now you have no reason to come back to Cortez, not to see your sister.
That's the negative trait that the Salters have too. We got these negative way of saying something, hoping that it turns out positive.
He says, well, you'll have to come to Pueblo. I'm like, I can't do that. My other brother, Russ, was on his way and got feeling sick and turned around and headed home. And he doesn't feel good today either, so it's better he go home and get well.
The implication was.
No, I can feel the pressure and love just looking at it.
Well, Lisa's like me. She's like, I can't talk.
I can't. It's real heavy. Feel it.
Yeah.
Talked to Grandma the day before. It's all my kids. I feel bad because my son never got to really meet her, but he loved talking to her on the phone.
watch me and Grandma go do this with me, and he'd take the phone and he was walking with her. After Camry's accident, Grandma called me for the spiritual moment, wanting us to recognize how blessed we were to still have her alive and here with us. To make sure that we recognized it and felt it as much as she did. She was super concerned still about her. Cared more about what was going on with us, like we said, than anything. I've had trouble because they just talked to her and then the next day. So it's been real hard to understand that. It was really fast in my eyes. We just talked to her and she was just like, I mean, coughing, yes, but
It did go fast. She didn't suffer any.
Maverick really wanted to come because he wanted to say goodbye to Grandma. He was having a hard time with it. And I just told her that he went back to see Grandpa and she went to go hold her baby and to go see her siblings. And that helped him to know that she was holding the baby. She loved talking to Hollywood. She would call her Harlow. She's like, hey Hollywood, how are you?
I didn't know that stuff.
Stop with her.
Yeah.
Very funny.
That was a nickname I gave Harlow. Came out blonde hair and blue eyes, Hollywood.
Maybe Grandma can help me with my garden this year now. I try to grow carrots every year like her. They do not come out tasty like Grandma. So, about 5 years of trying to grow carrots to taste like Grandma's, and they just don't taste like hers no matter what.
Put cow manure down.
Yeah, but I still love that she used to give to him and the slapping of the hands and he'd still about her kitchen sink. So,
It's funny how new carrots are like eating candy.
they love candy. You guys talk about her candy tour, I talk about her carrots. Her candy in her.
And I never thought my mom would ever get tired of green beans. She got to where she wouldn't touch a green bean for nothing. Oh, they gave me green beans for
Something
lunch
about green
today.
beans
She
is-
just wouldn't do it.
My kids, that's their favorite vegetable. They will literally eat a whole can of green beans to themselves. So it's not about green beans, I don't know what it is.
Always green beans, so gross.
Well, to make it a little bit unhealthy, on Saturdays, we'd ask girls, like, do you want to go get Dunkin' Donuts? Or go get donuts? She's like, yeah. And I always tell Gladys, like, these are God's cards, right?
Mom and Dad planned this thing out, probably started planning 20 years ago. Some of that was kind of tough sometimes, but they planned it out and they both wanted to go in their sleep and basically they did. Dad always was worried about getting his money's worth out of some guess in the day when supposedly we lived to 300 or 400 years, where the body was made by God, why would it wear out? Well, they wore theirs out, they did.
They both
And you
live to
realize
be
with
married.
what's left, the spirit is not there. I mean, it is gone instantly, and they just leave that vessel and move right on.
She did have that spiritual moment. So I was struggling with her passing. And they didn't cry that whole day because they didn't believe it. And that night, I think I cried all night long in sleep. Because I kept just seeing this image in my head of Grandma sitting on Grandpa's lap. That's how they would always take pictures of. I'd be like, oh, get together, let's take some pictures before we leave with the kids. They would always come to the or she'd always sit on Grandpa's lap. And let me take pictures. And that's the memory she gave me when I was struggling. To know that she was there, sitting there, and that was the last picture. To help give a little bit more comfort.
We've heard from everybody. I got a son-in-law and a daughter that might say something, but it's your last chance. Stand up in the cold. So tomorrow we'll have just a little bit of this at the cemetery. I don't expect many more than here, or some less. It's snowy up there, it's muddy, snow on the ground, you don't wanna go, and it's cold. So, be quick and short, get mom and pay last respects, and we'll be done. And I know it's hard, and I hear the tears, but oh my gosh, the joy that comes with this is just as overwhelming. So, Callie, you get some there?
No pressure or anything.
Thanks. Actually, I thought you said you were doing it.
Yeah, it's tough.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for everybody who came to celebrate Grandma. Thank you for letting everyone have safe travels here. And please continue to be with us all, watch over us as we remember our great-grandparents, and help keep everybody safe as they travel back to their destinations. And I say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
So, everybody can come up and grab a bag. You Yes, the backstory.
Oh, nice. But not as much as toilet paper like my right?
Love.
This is a service. So I'm really sad. I'll be there tomorrow.
I heard like a faint even here small. Like, I don't know, we were talking or having a cigarette or something. My daughter.
Okay.
And her husband, Aaron.
Okay.
California. Hi.
I've seen your pictures, that is for sure. And your grandma talked about, your great grandma talked about you. So, then Bob's, right, did she create your mom's? Yeah.
This is Brianna's family.
Oh,
Her
nice.
husband's John.
Wow.
I miss Keisha, how are you?
Nice.
Now, Lisa and one of her children. One of her children. Yes. And then Pat.
Oh, okay. Hi. It's been a while.
Well, I said, ex.
Yeah, you changed a bit.
They're so cute. How are you guys doing?
I said I saw Russell when you were little. I haven't seen you since.
The grandma.
You since you were little.
Yeah,
Don't get to see her again.
you know, we're FaceTiming.
She'll be walking and running.
I'm so scared. She's so good. I'm so glad I got to see this evening.
She said she had a great chat with your son.
Yeah, I
She really
hate
enjoyed
to
it.
have my picture taken, period, and then I'm like, yeah. I made her look at me.
Before I even told them what had happened. And we didn't tell her until later that evening, but she knew and let it not know.
That picture was just like that.
It was going to be perception. Yeah, I know. She sure did. She's been going on waiting for this day, and we asked her if she waited for it. She waited to Papa. He's watching over. I think we don't realize how thin the veil is, even close they are to us, so. I feel that.
Yes, so this was her last one she ever made.
No, watch over, they're our guardian angels forever.
Well,
She'll-
just
why
hang
don't
on
you-
the wall.
He's crying.
love forever. That's why we mourn.
I tried
We love them
to see
forever.
the
It's good to
ball
see you.
You too, how it was.
the last one she made, and he says, you know, he said, I don't feel that.
But they had other ones.
It's- But yeah, this was her very
You
last
guys moved to Tennessee. Yeah, you moved to a new house, didn't
Oh,
you?
yeah, you got plenty of stuff. And then, of course, Tote Box had the joy reason. And he's like, I want to. The mom.
Yeah, we all know this one. Every time I come to visit,
And
Oh, just like grandma's, yes, strawberry. Not a pine cone, it's a strawberry. That's a lot. It's strawberry. Yeah, okay, looks like pine cone. I know.
so, my mother had something in her. She had this stockpile. When she was in the house. So I never had to buy.
It's nice not to have to carry that.
So Bob's like, I want to.